Yeah. Not anymore. Okay.
Should we get started?
Yeah, we can. Tyler asked that Elaine step in for him. So, Elaine, okay with that? We can.
Well, welcome. First of all, I want to make sure, can everybody that's on the WebEx hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Awesome. Welcome everyone to our on-the-fly hybrid DWAC meeting for the month of June. I apologize for the confusion. It was meant to be an in-person meeting. However, it's good when you can adjust on the fly and be flexible. So welcome to all of our members, alternates, and any members of the public. In place of doing roll call, we ask that you sign in if you haven't already. I'm reading the teleprompter, so that's for the folks that signed in out in the hallway. But with that, I will turn it over to my co-chair, Elaine.
Hi. The minutes for May are in your packet. If you have any edits, please let us know so we can make those changes. And next, we're going to move into the Greenline extension project update. Dave?
Hi. Thanks everybody, and for those that are in person, welcome to the project office. Appreciate you folks being here today. I'm David Davies. I'm the Manager of Public Involvement for the project, joined by Nick Dial, the Director of Construction for the project. Just going to run through a few slides with the project progress. And you can just, I'll say next slide as we move through here. So you can, next slide. Just wanted to start off with just how we are connecting the public to the work that's going on out in the project, out on the corridor. We had our first round of public construction walking tours. This is a couple photos from 2 of those tours. We conducted 5 tours in May, and actually one was rained out. The Louisiana Avenue Station tour was rained out and is being conducted right now out of Louisiana Avenue Station. But we have we program these for about 15 to 20 people, and they sign up through our website, and it's just first come, first serve. We are also, as I always try to relay, we're always able to provide tours on an as needed and basis for those parties that are interested. But we just like getting folks out to bring folks out onto the sites or close to the sites in the case of the Kenilworth Tunnel to see the progress that is being made. So on the left you see a group out at the Shady Oak Station and Minnetonka-Hopkins Bridge where they get to see a little bit of station work and the work in advanced stages on the Minnetonka-Hopkins Bridge. And then to the right, you see a group taking in the sights and sounds of the Kenilworth LRT tunnel construction on the east heading, working toward the Cedar Lake Channel. So just letting folks know that we're out there. This is kind of our season to do this type of work. It's a lot of fun to bring folks out here, and we really enjoy connecting the general public, folks who don't necessarily see this on an everyday basis, with the progress that's being made on the project. It is usually running counter to their thoughts and beliefs when they hear about the project in the news and some of the difficulties that are being experienced. They get out here and stand on what looks to be an almost completed bridge, and they go, "Huh, that's not necessarily what we're hearing." So it's good. Next slide. Another bit of good news, we reached a milestone down at the end, at the terminus or beginning of the project at Southwest Station. Just wanted to relay to the folks, there was a successful ribbon cutting, and of course this doesn't necessarily impact workforce, but I think just another example of the general progress and efforts that are being made on this project being recognized by the larger community. This is the representatives from the Eden Prairie Chamber of Commerce, as well as representatives from the City of Eden Prairie and Southwest Transit, joined by our chair, Charlie Zelli, in the middle, helping to hold the scissors. They did a ceremonial ribbon cutting for the opening of the bus loop and waiting area at Southwest Station, Southwest Transit's bus and waiting facility, which was, that area was completed earlier this year and turned over to Southwest Transit. It just represents a milestone and, again, progress in this general area, which has a lot of complex staging and phasing of different types of work. But the ability for Southwest Transit to start to use this facility is a big deal, and they wanted to be recognized as such. So, again, commemoration of the efforts of everybody who's working on this project being felt by and seen and visualized by the larger community. A little bit, I'll go through my normal kind of rundown of slides of project progress, highlighting a few areas. Again, we talked about Southwest Station. This is just a nice shot, and I might have even shown this one at the last meeting, but it's so cool I thought I'd include it again. You can go to the next slide. This is the kind of the current phase. Obviously, this picture is a little bit older, but the current phase of work at Southwest Station includes some of the last pile driving that's going on the project. And I believe, Nick can jump in whenever he wants, but I believe that the main, most of the pile drive is expected to wrap up this month. And that will also represent a good milestone for the community members around this area who have certainly felt that for a while. But it's
I said, but it's a bummer one for us to sell for the workforce because it's been so great with pile drivers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously wonderful.
Very good point, Krista. It's certainly been a lot of work and very visible, noticeable, and we certainly like highlighting the progress that's being made throughout the corridor on this type of work, and especially at Southwest Station. Next slide. Kind of just talking about milestones. You're seeing progress represented here at the City West Station and Plaza IC. We've driven down to this site often on tours, taking people around the corridor, and every time it feels like there's just something new being, a newly completed element. This is the station plaza, just showing a little bit of some almost finished conditions of a nice waiting area and plaza adjacent to the actual station. City West is in Eden Prairie, right before the Highway 62 LRT tunnel. Great work being done there, and when we take people to this area, again, it's just showing what we're getting close to the finished product. So really cool. Moving up into Minnetonka, I always like to tell people this group how the community can measure progress. And so one of the ways they're measuring progress, I think I've mentioned before, how the OCS pole installation marches through the corridor. Well, rail installation is also one of those signifiers for the community of progress being made. And you see the rail that's been recently installed under the Smetana and Filter roadway bridges. And if you go to the next slide, that transitions onto the Minnetonka-Hopkins LRT bridge, where again, this photo is slightly old. I imagine progress is being made every day there, but that rail installation has continued through into Minnetonka and up, getting into the Hopkins area. So big progress there. Shady Oaks, work being done on the Shady Oaks station, just representative here of all of the stations that are being worked on. You'll see a couple of other instances of that later with fencing work and other station work that's going on the platforms themselves. Next slide. And Blake Road in Hopkins, station, roof work being done there. Blake is one of the stations that's probably not quite as far advanced as some of the others. So it's actually a really good opportunity to see some of the work still being performed, seeing the continuum of activities. In this case, roof work being done at Blake Road. Another minor milestone from the freight rail work side is the work on the southerly connector. This is a freight rail connection that was included as part of the project, and I believe there's still a little bit extra work to be done there, Nick?
Yeah, just a couple little tie-in sections.
But it's
For the most
almost
part,
ready to-
it's ready to go.
Ready to go, which is big for us in the Louisiana Avenue station, which is where that tour should be checking that out. That element's out right now. You can go to the next slide. Moving it through St. Louis Park, we currently have Wooddale Avenue closed for about a month to complete LRT track, LRT crossing work in this area, and I believe some other utility work as well. But this is certainly a big closure, very visible to the community, but also very visible in terms of like the work that's being done. So good opportunities. And of course, you can see the station in the background and adjacent development that is located around these stations as we move through progress on the project. A good example of recent intersection that was, or a recent crossing that was completed is up the road at Beltline Station, where that road was closed earlier this year for about a month for similar work and is now complete and back open to the public. So that's just a picture of kind of the getting towards finished complete stages of road work conditions at Beltline. Next slide. A lot of work happening obviously in Minneapolis, and some of that work people are starting to take notice of elements going vertical. So steel and foundations for the vertical circulation being installed. And as you'll see in a couple, I think I have in a couple other slides, like steel being erected on these stair and elevator towers at some of the stations. So here are the foundations, but I believe you see in later slides some of the advanced progress for that same style of work. This is at the West Lake Street Station. I want to continue on. Progress being made on the west heading of the Kenilworth LRT tunnel, some initial excavation and support system installation, struts and whalers being installed to prepare for the bulk of excavation. So now represents major progress in seeing progress on the LRT tunnel going in both directions, east and west. Next slide, please. Another shot, these are, especially the left side is the view of the existing pedestrian or trail connection over the tunnel. That was showing recent waterproofing installation over top the LRT tunnel. And then to the right is actual tunnel, tunnel walls and ceiling construction, walls and roof construction within the tunnel itself. I think I've mentioned before the area by the Cedar Lake Channel, which is currently closed to recreational traffic. Again, something very visible to the community, but something that they also noticed great progress. We've got the third of 3 bridges that spans the channel being constructed, the trail bridge structure. My understanding is actually they were just pouring concrete yesterday or today for that bridge. And you'll see flanked on either side there the historic Works Progress Administration walls that were recently completed, which was a major undertaking, but it's a really cool element and something that we point to as part of not only of the work involved in doing that, but the project's commitment to the environmental documentation in the design process. There's Bryn Mawr Station with some of the work you can see in terms of structural steel that's been erected as part of the station. That's the elevator and stair tower that will connect the truss bridge that's been installed, or at least part of the truss bridge that's been installed, over to the station entrance at Penn Avenue and Wayzata near 394. A matter of note that next week the second part of that truss bridge will be installed to complete the basic part of that bridge structure for the Bryn Mawr Station. And then at Bassett Creek, yet another, I think the third of 3 of the stations with vertical circulation within the city of Minneapolis, Bassett Creek Valley Station, also steel erection at the Bassett Creek Valley to tie into Van Wyck Memorial Boulevard. Next slide. Shot here just shows the connectivity of this project as a whole as the LRT bridge comes up and intersects with the Glenwood Avenue roadway bridge. The Glenwood Avenue bridge is set to reopen after being closed for a number of years. This later this year. The view you're seeing right now is the LRT bridge that bisects the two roadway bridge segments, leading off and to the left to tie into the Royalston Avenue station, seeing that concrete work ready to be performed, track already initially installed. Lot of work going on here, and actually my hope is that we actually get the public out here to see this work here before the bridge opens, because it's a very unique site. And then I think this is my final slide, final project update slide. Recently performing concrete pours. I believe we've got another concrete pour for this structure going on right now, or today, or this morning. But this pour for the 5th Avenue 7th Street Bridge, which is the tie-in point to the existing Greenline to Target Field. So, that has very visible again to patrons of Target Field, as well as our own colleagues at Metro Transit headquarters. So very visible work that's going on, and really enjoyed seeing the progress on that. That is my update on the project. We'll take any questions that folks have.
Any questions for David or Nick? We don't want to leave Nick out of it.
When David's here, I don't really have to speak. Get it all down.
And my apologies, I'm gonna have to leave at like 3:15 to go run our construction update. Make sure it gets
So
out.
point of clarification, I do
Sure.
have a question. Is Glenwood ever gonna be reopened?
No,
No?
no.
Yes, it's anticipated.
Not to motorized traffic, it's just now a bike way. I'm kidding.
Okay.
Believe me.
I'm kidding. We are set to reopen,
Ridiculous.
we're set to reopen Glenwood later this year. Yep.
It's just,
Yeah. There is currently Hennepin County work being conducted as well in the vicinity.
oh, I know, I live in that area.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that
That's
work,
why I'm asking.
Stay off of it, please.
we're coordinating, but you know what I'm looking forward to, Elaine? Open Streets in Minneapolis is on Glenwood, I think in September.
Yeah,
And I think it would be, we see an opening around that time, it'd be good to be out at Open
Hopefully
Street.
then we see our crime go.
you should see how people try to get to the farmer's market this weekend. It was a nightmare.
St. Paul was busier, I think, because of it.
No, it's because the
No, I know,
construction.
St. Paul was St. Paul Farmers Market was busier because people didn't go to Minneapolis.
Oh, no, they went. It was just, they
Well,
went.
anyways.
All
Yeah.
right.
Those pictures are great, by the way, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then I utilize them when I'm talking to the,
Sure. And
Future
we're always looking to
prospects.
actually show more workforce, especially and
Yeah.
we're kind of getting our outreach coordinators to, and
Yeah.
construct folks to
you guys
get
put
those
great
photos to
pictures.
demonstrate who's out there as well.
Those rebar pictures are the ones that I think are really cool, because when people hear about rebar, they see, like a cage right there at the center, at the training center, here's a rebar. No, that's
That's,
and we talk about the mileage
Yeah.
of rebar that has been laid that goes to Chicago and back.
Yeah, let us know if you need any other ones, like we've got, and you guys probably do too, but like the web shots that we didn't include in this, like where you can actually see the workers that are like down in the web of
That would be
girder
great.
are really nice too. So
That's what we talked about at Rock. I would love to put together our slideshow
Combined slideshow, that's great.
like it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of a related but non-related question. Has vandalism been an issue or a significant issue along any parts?
Do you consider graffiti vandalism?
Yes.
Okay, then, yeah, it's an issue. I mean, it's like all along through Minneapolis, it's pretty tough. I wouldn't say like for the remainder of the suburbs, it's kind of sporadic at best, but along the freight rail corridor in Minneapolis can be bad. But I mean, it's like anything, we try to increase our deterrence and make sure that we're, getting rid of the graffiti as timely as possible. Otherwise, I mean, there's somebody that could be dedicated out there all the time.
Yeah.
And you still wouldn't get it all. And it would get painted the day after you were there. So, and it has happened on the project before, and it's unfortunate, but I mean, it's just part of it.
Vandalism, theft. I mean, it's
Yeah.
there. You can't contain 14 and a half miles of a job site.
All right, thank you. Earlier this week, the DBE and workforce reports were sent out for review, and of course are included in your handouts and available on the advisory committee webpage. And are there any questions relative to the DBE reports?
Maybe.
Barb's here.
You missed me, guys?
We do.
Right, so this is a statement. This is, when I look at these reports, I've said this before for those of you that don't know, I look at them and the reason I want this contract changes column is it's great when we see green and people are getting additional work. It scares the hell out of me when I'm seeing red.
Which one
Because
are you looking at? I'm sorry. Can you-
civil progress.
Not the slides.
The ones in the back?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Amtech's down 200,000, we got, Boys Water Products down 3 million, et cetera, they're showing up, or no, Blackstone. Boys is down 234,000, et cetera on this. Some of those, and I don't know Blackstone, what that contracting piece is, retaining walls, but these are to the smaller contracts, some of these changes, smaller contracts. A lot of the big greens are going to the Gunners, the Lees, the All Phase, et cetera, ones that are bigger contractors as it is. And we learned that on Central Corridor, that the big ones get all of the work and all of the extra work, and then the smalls struggle to get through the contract. So I'm just kind of wondering, Krista, on you guys' end, what's going on with some of those? And, never to me is about meeting the bottom line goal. It's about what happens to businesses in the project. You've all heard that from me a million times.
The one thing I can say with, especially with Nick here today, is we're working very closely with Blackstone with their work. I mean, they're doing great work, and she is at everything. She was at our meeting for the subs yesterday, which was really great to see, and I took some time afterwards. So that one's a work in progress, seriously. I think it's
A work in progress, but where did the deduct come from of half a contract, or a third of a contract?
that's not total yet. That's current. That's not the overall picture. Maybe Nick can.
Yeah, so we met just internally with LMJB just earlier this week to talk about some of these issues. I think, some of the project management for LMJB is going to be able to provide some backup documentation on that scope reduction. But Jess did also state that they are constantly looking for more items to give back to Blackstone to counterbalance that scope reduction.
Mm-hmm.
As Chris has stated, they are doing excellent work for they did the WPA wells that were out there that were a part of that. It is and plus that is a unit rate contract, so there's a balance there that we're trying to work out with LMJB, and it does require some additional coordination and explanation.
It's a boys supplies of, 230,000, say.
That I think we're gonna see, theirs is gonna be different at the end. I don't think we have all their, if I remember right, there's actually.
Right, so that, the way that just described it is, and we need to figure out if there's a issue between the original bid commitment and the current contract value that there might, because there was some not turnover is not the right word, replacement in personnel that does this reporting at LMJB, and so there might be a little tweak that we needed to follow up with LMJB on this boys contracting issue, but this tunnel drain piping doesn't happen until the end of the Kenilworth Tunnel, which is currently under civil construction.
So when I'm seeing it as a deducted change order, so that's what.
That's how it reads. I don't disagree. Yeah,
And that's how that report's intended.
Right.
So then if it's a reporting issue, then that's an easy explanation. But if it's actually a deduct from these smaller businesses, then that's a concern for me.
Right.
Because if we're not, this is the time, we wouldn't see something that's gonna be installed later in the year as a deduct.
Agreed.
So-
That's what I think. We've asked some questions for how this is being reported to the JV to see if there's some additional explanation that we need to report at this meeting, possibly at the next.
And don't get me wrong,
Next
I mean,
meeting.
if All Phase Gunner and Leroy all graduated the program because of this project, what a great thing, right? But at the same time, we gotta make sure the blue guys are taken care of. I love seeing the green, but I don't like seeing
Quite a
red.
bit
I
of-
can echo that John had brought up your exact statements at a meeting earlier this
Have I
week. and
taught
we're
you
trying
one?
to-
I have a lot of little dogs on here
Thanks.
that have gotten a good increase. We're getting there.
No, I think it's important though too, because yes, I get copied on those correspondences from John and checking into these issues. And I think that's one of our goals is to get clarification and seek clarification, one, on how this information is being reported, and moving forward, how it's reported. But also just from a standpoint, and yes, we do miss you, Barb, and we do love having you here, is because part of the purpose of, I always say, of this committee is to provide accountability and eyes and ask those types of questions. Because we need that as well to make sure that we are staying on track, that small businesses are not run over as a part of this project. But yes, that's part of the process and seeking that clarification and making sure that we can get to a good understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I look in the room here and Greenline, or I mean, what was their first film?
Central
Corridor,
then
that's what it was, but it was Central Corridor.
Hiawatha.
Right.
Hiawatha was the first one, then
Yeah.
the Central Corridor, then the interchange.
So Elaine and I are the old people that watch all these other
That's where I
organizations,
started my lovely.
right? And so these reports to me are just boom, 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 and I remember going into some of those, we used to do an annual review. An advisory council that did an annual review and would catch things and say, hey, and that's why these reports are so important to me. Just a glance at them will make me go, what, wait. Which is why we copied them for the US Bank Stadium too. They're very telling reports. Thank you guys. But if you have interns, what you can do, because I'm data driven and it drives me absolutely crazy to have like some of these people on gender ethnicity column be gender first, ethnicity second, and then some of them are the opposite. So when you're going down, it's really weird. So it's just a little kind of work. I have interns, it's something to keep them busy for, you know?
I love an intern.
All right, any more questions relative to the DBE reports? Small business, yes?
Comment.
Yes.
I'd like to in person apologize to everybody for my email last Friday reacting about Blackstone. I was
Okay,
replying,
this.
yeah, you don't need it, it's DBE not workforce, but since our team is here, I was replying to our PM that this shows the magnitude of, and I'm so impressed by the LMJV team of how they are involved with our DBEs compared to past historical references, you know? I had one of our PMs reach out to me who is in charge of our change orders and knew my experience with the DBEs and it was great. He brought me in right away with Blackstone. I responded to you, forwarded to you guys, but then I responded to Zach and said, this is bull, let's light a fire. Ta-da, look what happened. I accidentally sent it to these guys, not to Zach. But it was a very professional going.
Yeah, you only said bull.
Yeah, I was
Dot,
wondering.
dot, dot.
I
almost
wondered.
called
Very
you.
professional.
I almost called you directly, you know, because Jess is like, Kristen, and I said, why? I sent it to Zach. He goes, look again. I'm like, he gets it. You know, we all care.
Yeah, no, I was
No.
curious.
And
I
it's
was
a
like,
team.
who's this bull?
You guys, I
Mine
couldn't
was
stop
made
laughing the whole way home. Sorry, though,
No,
seriously.
yeah, thanks.
That's, I usually am very professional. Okay.
All
that's it.
right. Thank you. With that, I'm gonna turn it over to Elaine, who would like to make a proposal
Well,
regarding these reports.
yeah, we have made the DBE and the workforce reports consent items where they're not discussed. And I think it's important that at least once a quarter, we actually review them, talk about them, and in particular because of what just happened with Barb bringing up issues and having that opportunity to ask questions. I think it's a good thing for all of us to bring it up. So I'm proposing that at the quarterly meetings, we actually review the participation numbers, the DBE achievements, reports, and have a discussion.
All
I
right.
second it.
All right, and just for clarity and for those who are online and may not have understood, we have a proposal to actually review and have a conversation on the workforce and DBE reports quarterly. Is there anyone, and I have a motion, I'm gonna take that as a motion, and a second. Is anyone opposed, or is there any discussion or questions relative to that motion and proposal?
My only question would be, was it wrong that I asked questions and had clarifications at this meeting?
No.
No, it
No.
actually was a good thing because it shows why it's important that we at some point have the opportunity to ask those questions
Okay.
instead of just having consent items.
And for clarity, I'm always going to ask if there's questions relative to report or comments, even if it's on
Thanks,
the
because waiting
consent.
3 months sometimes
Yeah.
might not be the opportunity either.
Yeah.
As long as we can always jump in.
So hearing no opposition to that, I think we can just move forward with that, that recommendation. All right, since this has been adopted, let's move on to John, who
Thank you.
can cover the April DBE participation.
Yep. And I think just to clarify for consent items, I think that if there are questions that people are able to ask those questions, and I don't think that we've ever said, don't ask questions. So, yeah, I think we always keep it open, and if people do have questions, we welcome that. Next slide. So for participation, as of April 30th, for the civil and systems contract, they're both exceeding their goals right now. So that's very good for us to see, especially as the contract progresses on. We do know that as the contract progresses, it's harder to make up participation if you don't build participation into the work. So this is good for us to see, and it's helpful as we are monitoring the contracts. Next slide. And here's the achievement over time. As you can see, from the start of the contract all the way through, we've kind of plateaued, but then quite recently we've seen some additional increases. Next slide. And then for the systems contract, in a similar fashion, it's, from the start until now, it's gone up, and then it's kind of plateaued, and 18%, we're seeing it right now. So that's continuing. And then recently, the civil contract submitted payout 56, and along with that, they also updated a lot of the contracts and included the change orders, so that increased and was a lot of the stuff that you saw, Barb, of the pluses and minuses on the DBE progress report. So in that, when you're looking at the total contracts, overall, it's 55 million bump up for the total contracts as a whole. And if you're looking at, you just aggregate those numbers, it's a bump up for white women, it's about 28 million there. For Asian Pacific folks, it's 11 million there. And then the other two big ones are the Hispanic male, 11 million there, and then Native American, 5 million there. So it's a huge bump up for a lot of the DBEs on the civil contract that has a larger overall impact to all of the construction contracts. Next slide. And then, when we're looking at, how many dollars are going back to Minnesota versus some of the other states in regard to like the contractors here, it's a 5% increase for the Minnesota DBEs that are on here. And it's overall, when you're looking at dollar value, it's about 54 million. Next slide. So that's what I have for DBE participation. I will
Any additional questions on DBE participation? Folks online, I want to give you a shot to chime in if you have any questions. All right. Elaine.
Thank you. So for the workforce participation, can we go to the next slide, please? For April, the civil contractor increased their work hours from the previous month for about 32,000 hours. So they were at 56,712 hours. The female participation came in at 6.75%. They're at 8.28% overall from the start of the project. And the the POCI participation came in at 24.37 for the month, and they're at 23.51% overall. Non-specified was 0.5%, and they're at 0.72% overall. And this is the breakdown. For the unspecified, it was 282 hours, 0.5% white women, 2,924 hours, or 5.2%. Women of color were 904 hours, 1.6%. Men of color were 12,915 hours, 22.77%. And white men were 36,688. I can't see that far, excuse me. 70%. And so for participation for women since the start of the project, there are 221,492 hours, 8.28%. And as you can see, it has been pretty consistent. The dips generally occur over the winter slowdown, which is typical for construction. Next slide. For POCI, 629,240 hours, 23.51%. And it has similar dip in the participation over the winter construction break, but it seems to be on the upswing, which is good. And I think that is a typo there. It should be 23.51%, which is in the heading. So I apologize for that. I didn't catch that. Another thing that's ramping up is the trucking. MBE is at 31,402 hours. There was no change for ZTS. They haven't worked in a few months. Rock On has 4,365 hours, so that was an increase. And I talked to Krista, and she confirmed that the trucking is coming back up, so that is a good thing. For the systems contract, for April, there were 3,553 hours. Since the start of the project, 19,597. For women, they came in at 14.19%, and they're at 14.87% overall. For POCI, for the month, they were at 13.51%, and they're at 17.16%. Unspecified is 0.63 just for April and 0.87 overall. And the breakdown for the different groups, unspecified was 94 hours, 2.65%, and white women was 381 hours, 11.72%. Women of color was 37 hours, 1.04%. Men of color was 443 hours, 12.47%. White men was 2,599 hours. And the one thing that I was gratified to see was the women of color, because that has been very low throughout the project on the systems contract. So that is, it was nice to see that they are adding women of color on this project. And the disaggregated data. Okay, I can't see that part. For April, non-specified was 0.5%, multiracial was 2.03%, Native Americans was 1.9%. These are the overall figures, which is the combined women and male percentages. Hispanic Latinos was 12.9%, whites was 75.14%, African Americans were 5.4%, and Asian Americans were 2.2%. From the start of the project through the end of April, non-specified was 0.72%, multiracial 1.15%, Native Americans were 2.34%, Hispanic Latinos were 11%, whites were 76%, Asian Americans were 3%, and African Americans were 6%. And the next slide shows you the breakdown of the hours, for the different groups. And the total hours by for Asian American women, 3,382.14%. For men, it was 70,215 hours, or 2.62%. Total hours were 73,897, 2.76%. For African Americans, 35,303 hours for women, which represents 1.32%. For African American males, 121,599 hours, 4.54%. The total hours were 156,902 hours, 5.86%. For Hispanic Americans, 10,622.4%. That was for women, excuse me. For men, 285,210, 10.66%, and overall they're at 11.06 for 295,833 hours. I really think we need to reverse these columns, by the way. For Native Americans, 17,619 hours for women, which is 0.66%. 44,886 for men, 1.68%, and a total of 62,505 hours, 2.34%. Multiracial is 700 hours for women, 0.03%, 39,405 hours, 0.14% for men, and total hours are 40,104 hours, or 1.5%. White Americans, 153,101 hours, 5.72%. The male hours are 1,874,534 hours, 70.05%. The total hours were 2,027,635 hours, 75.77%. And the non-specified is 466 hours, 0.02%. That was for women, 18,712 hours for men, 0.7%. And the total hours, 19,178, or 0.72%. Any questions? Nope. I bored you to death. Thank you.
Read a lot of information up from the screen.
I didn't read it up there. I couldn't see that far.
All right,
Ta-da.
we're moving on to our non-consent. And first, I guess, I'm assuming there's no questions for Elaine. So we're gonna move on to our non-consent business. Krista and Mike, you are on the clock.
We're on stage, Mikey. All right, next screen. Oh, we should switch this one of these times, come on. So DBE, you guys, what I wanted to do real quick is, because now I am meeting on a weekly basis with our team, the LMJB team, 2 individuals regarding where we're at with our DBEs, because we will be doing, we are creating a project closeout process for them regarding DBE. There's gonna be a little questionnaire and stuff, but I will work with John and Ashante regarding those questions. I think it'll be very important. Cool for us to have for moving forward. But with that being said, when I was given finally again on a regular basis our ongoing numbers, which are a little different as is workforce, I was taking a look at the increases due to not just change orders, but where somebody else had to be pulled off and we added somebody else, whether it be DBE or non-DBE, and we have submitted paperwork, by the way. But what was really kind of cool, and Barb had stated it earlier too, because her and I have had these conversations for 15 years now about the big DBEs compared to those little dogs, the mom and pop shops, which I absolutely love to highlight are those little ones. Those, I gave a great example before of a DBE that I utilized in a previous project. He's a wood shop, he's a carpenter. One person, does the entire thing. Had quite a major contract with us on a previous project because he built all the draft tables for all of the trailers and such. Well, that project right there enabled him to grow his business to multiple. We've done a few of those things here, not that tiny, but a great example. If you look at Public Solutions, everybody knows Kimberly from Public Solutions Group, right? She's the communication. She's David's, partner, on this great project and stuff. Well, Kimberly was able to, due to conversations and her relationships, key words, relationships, she grew her business and added laborers to her scope of work and specified different things. Well, if you look at what she was able to do, you guys, look at that growth. And that number is not incorrect. That is correct. Her contract grew because of the relationship, so that's one. But you can look, we can discuss different ones one-on-one. I know Barb's mind is so, but there's been great opportunities, you guys. And what I'm gonna do moving forward is I will be highlighting certain ones, and here's how they grew their contract and why, okay? So that it is a clearer picture. This is just a, hey, wow, look at, but now let's keep going. But what's really cool is to be able to, I have further information I received from both the Lunda stations, because Lunda is a subcontract doing the stations on the project, just like back when A&P did the stations for Walsh. I have their breakdown of their subcontractors that are on the project for DBE, as well as Egan's, and it is really cool to see that continued trend of increase of DBE participation compared to back when we did the first light rail projects. Remember those numbers back then for DBE were way below goal, and so be able to move forward to see a change. You guys, I'd love to do that type of historical comparison for our DBEs. There's a lot of things that still need to be improved, changed, strengthened, but at least we have a start. Okay, so there's that screen. Let's move on to the next. And this is what I'm really looking forward to, and that's why I wanted to have this up here for you guys, is our bi-weekly, because I say weekly, and some of the guys, I didn't get to meet this week because my partner is gone today, so we didn't meet. So we'll meet next week. So bi-weekly internal LMJV review of where we're at, with our DBEs, outstanding items, gains, losses, paperwork, timeline, everything, so that I can help give those DBEs that support maybe that they need more one-on-one, because if it's a smaller office, they don't have the staff to be able to get things done. Maybe we have somebody that can provide a little assistance or something. So there's that piece.
That's what I was gonna ask Krista, is there someone, it's not all falling on you, but there's someone you got support.
I'd love 2 interns, one for DBE, one for workforce. They said if you can find an intern, go for it. But financially, it's something, and we're gonna go back again, please. But that's something, you guys, I really wanna stress when it comes moving forward, and we'll be talking about for future projects, is that little piece of when the council says, hey, here's the DBE program, having that as part of it, I think is so important. And how we do that, and I do mean we, between the government, the contractor, you know, whatever, I think that's the piece that's truly missing. It really, really is. So it's that conversation. So the DBE meeting and networking event, we've had a couple throughout my start. We will be having one again probably more like August, September, just because holy moly, it's already middle of June. You know, so that's very important to me. I think it is, especially with relationships and moving forward. And we will be inviting the council entirety, you know, everybody that's involved in the project to attend. Everybody, you know, our whole diversity outreach group, and then also our monthly DBE review meetings with the council instead of quarterly. I think especially between now and the end of the project, it's very important that communication, and that we're all aware of what's going on and who's what and who needs what and such. I think that'll really help with our towards the closeout part pieces. So there's my DBE stuff. Any questions?
Yes.
Your word first. No. I'm just repeating you.
I think, you know, going back to slide 43, where you have the DBE achievement updates, you know, you listed public solutions as public involvement, but that's not the entire picture. What I would recommend is that you add their
Yes.
contract work.
Yes,
The
and
actual-
I should hide that column, sorry, and I was gonna hide the dollar value column also. I will do that, Elaine, because it is a work in progress. Thank you.
Well, I wasn't recommending you hide the original scope. What I was recommending is that you add a column to describe the increase.
Yes, I
that's
think
what
that's a great idea, thank you. I appreciate it. Jess is on. Nope. All right, thank you, Elaine. I think seriously, it's absolutely.
All right. I think, Mike, you are,
No, I
Oh, no.
have workforce
there we
now.
go, yes.
Look at
Sorry.
that. I know, I think we should do DBE
Jump.
and then separate and then do work. No,
Jump
just
the
kidding.
gun.
So, don't start. All right, see the in-person is when you get to see the friendships reignited. Workforce, you guys, is, I'm gonna say it outright, what I feel right now, where we're at with where the, life is, in the Twin Cities. I'm not celebrating numbers because we are nowhere, we're not at 32 and 20%. But what I am celebrating, the fact is and I loved your the graph that shows, hey, yeah, here's the winter and stuff, but overall, you guys, we continue our numbers for the project. And when speaking with the Department of Labor and Industry as well as MnDOT, our project is actually above industry average right now. That's not good enough, of course, you guys. We can improve and we are improving. If you see, and I did do a comparison, and this, I did not get my updated, that's April, I have May. But anyways, to go from April to May, you guys, per trade, we've seen a nice big jump because the numbers are there. What's great is our iron workers, our carpenters, and our laborers continue to increase participation. Actually, if you look at the laborers, you guys, for POCI, over 30%. You guys, over 30%. That is one of our biggest trades on the project, and we are almost at the goal. Okay, so kudos to our laborers, kudos to all of our subs and contractors, including London and CS McCrossin that have them.
Am I seeing that right? Painters is 50%?
Yeah.
But look at the amount.
Just
Yeah.
like
That's why I go back to that. But I will tell you one thing, Rainbow, who is our painter on this project, you guys, their increase from April to May is quite a bit. I mean, they double their workforce, and they're still their female participation is 21.5% for May, and 30% for minority. You know, so they have a smaller, of course, much smaller piece, but still half of their workforce, you know, which is nice to see. And they've been very proactive about their stuff. But yeah, carpenters, you know, I mean, we look at them, 25%, 25, almost 26% for the iron workers. Pile drivers, like I said, that's my favorite trade. It's the noisiest. Come on, you know. You know, their increase from years ago. That's the cool thing, you guys, is to do a comparison from 10 years ago to now when it comes to a light rail project would be very interesting numbers to see. That doesn't stop us. Our biggest thing, you guys, we will continue to recruit, but we are also starting to lay off. Overall, if you look, we have 3 years left. We're going to be losing those various trades till the end, you know, so that's my big thing there. We do have a total company report. I have many of our contractors say no. Thank you, Barbie doll.
I have a very large golf tournament that is giving out $17,000 in scholarships to these type people.
One of mine.
So all the females, so I'm going to head out for the course.
Thanks for being here, Barb.
I thought there was a $17,000 prize. The one comment the thing that jumps out at me on this report is the licensed trades.
Yep.
The licensed trades, they have a lot of representation. I mean, a lot of overall representation.
Yep.
But the percentage is low.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when you talk to folks in the community and you talk to folks that look at the workforce, it's one of those things. How is that a barrier to people in my community and
Right.
people, you know, and how can we work on fixing that?
It's a great question, and there again, it's something for creating our footprint, like you and I want to do for future. You guys, when it comes to the licensed trades, and especially our current workforce and what this project requires regarding equipment operators and electricians are the two of the licensed trades that I'm really going to focus on. Unless we have a program for mentor apprenticeships already pre-set up for the project, this is again in my opinion, but it's a 20-year experience opinion. If we have it set up where we're going to dedicate a certain amount of individuals that we will support heavy equipment, so us, Lunda, CS McCrossin, or electricians, Egan, that they bring in so many brand new apprentices being mentored by individuals set aside here for this project. This right here is what it is because of the fine, extreme, not just safety, but capability of doing that work for this project safely and correctly. You know, so that's my reason right now why the numbers aren't what they are, but also my reason what we can do moving forward to help fix that. We should have, and I wish to gosh I could have been here at the pre-proposals of the project, you know, and said, hey, we should dedicate for those licensed ones. And when we go to, say, Building Strong or Summit or Goodwill Easter Seals, Junior Achievement, you guys, and I talk to those people that are interested in going into the trades, the top two are equipment operators and electricians.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that everybody wants to go into, but it's the tough ones to get into. So setting up a program where we can have designated monies and people set aside to say, hey, this equipment operator is going to be on the project. They're not going to be an oiler though. Yes, they will be an oiler and it would be working with the trades. But what are on, you know, we almost would have classes designated for those individuals on the project. So in my, you know, crazy brain that comes with many ideas, I think that right there would be so beneficial to everybody, to the individuals wanting to get in, but also to our trades, to the Met Council, Department of Human Rights, but the contractors.
Yeah, and I know you can't solve this by yourself.
I'd love to, but it's a team. But that's an idea.
It does jump out, and
that's why they're low.
Yeah.
is seriously why they're low, because with ratios also with the Department of Labor and Industry, those are the two toughest for ratios also. Because of the safety and knowledge reasoning, those numbers can't, we can't afford, we wouldn't have been awarded the project, so. I'm pretty excited though about them actually, when you do the breakdown now month to month. It's better. And one of my operators, by the way, is getting one of those scholarships tomorrow. So, Izzy,
All right.
thank you. And I do have the total companies, like I said, I printed them out, I will email them to you to distribute, but I did print them out for everybody. I had about half of our contractors that are on site right now give back those numbers.
You sent that to me earlier.
Yeah. And it's something that I talk about, especially with highway heavy. Take a look at the company's totals. You don't want to see these. They're not that great. But it's eye-opening. There are some, but definitely some better than others. But I'll share that with you guys, because I promised you guys that I will.
I already copyrighted it. You can't share it.
Mine. You stole my data.
All right.
You can bring in spiders.
Systems contract. I believe you're done, right?
No, she has transfer.
Hey, Ashanti,
No.
I could talk forever. Hey, I did have a transfer slide.
April, May.
Hey, there's the April-May one. It was supposed to be replace the other one. How pretty that is. There we go. That was a tough one to get this month from our 3. But look at those numbers, you guys. There we go. So, there we go. I'm done now, Mike. It's your turn.
Oh, good. All right, systems updates. We got mock interviews at Summit Academy on June 30th, and Aldrich Parsons and Premier are going to participate in those mock interviews. We have new DBE subcontractor on the job. Got a fully executed contract with Stonebrook Friends for about 216. We got a subcontract routing for Castrogen, who's going to be doing boring for us for about a 91,000. We've been utilizing safety signs, so we'll figure out what we got and what we're going to commit to them. We'll add them to the project through Myers. Elite Fiber Optics should be coming out in the next month or two, maybe July, August. They're going to be blowing fiber into the duct bank out on the tracks. So that's what's going on there. I did do a quick breakdown of our workforce based on where we're at today. The women hours are pretty good at 14%. We hope that can stay consistent. We need to increase the POCI. But I was looking at it, Aldridge, we've been on the project now for 3 years. We've been reporting for 3 years. And we have 25,000 total hours. And, 17.5 is done by three contractors, the electrical contractors, Premier, Aldridge, and Gunner. And then the other 7,000 are done by 7,300 done by the other various civil or miscellaneous. But the thing to look at is we've had 167 people work on the job, and 112 hours are going to non-electrical contractors. So 112 hours accumulated for 7,300. 112 people accounted for 7,000 hours. So if you divide it, they each got 70 hours if you do it the math that way. So it's like people coming in working 2 days, 4 hours here, maybe 3 days, 4 hours. So you got the carpenters, they're coming in and building the frame. You got the roofers coming in, they're all following one another. They're coming in, they're not working full weeks, so they're just piecemeal. There's a few of them that are just working. But as far as electrician goes, we've had 55 electricians between Aldridge, Parsons, and Premier or Gunner. Not Parsons, but Premier and Gunner. We've had 50 electricians, 14 of them have been apprentices. And we've had 1 carpenter and we've had 4 operating engineers. And they're accounting for that. So that's kind of a breakdown, just a quick breakdown of it. Where the steady work is going to be the electricians. All the other stuff is going to be miscellaneous. You got safety signs, you might have 10 people working 15 hours, doing traffic control. So those numbers are skewed. But really, when you got the steady work, it's, our crews that have the steady work, the women representation's decent. We need to increase the POCI. We're starting to see that with the electrician, with the apprentices coming in. Out of the 14 apprentices, we're getting a significant number. Recently, in April and May, with Premier making an effort, we're seeing that diversity come to that chance. Hopefully they'll work out, hopefully become part of the steady crews. But we worked 3,500 hours in April, we worked almost 5,000 in May. We're probably going to peak at 6,000 hours a month through the rest of this year, the high point. So it's like, all this combined is 1/3 of what Chris is doing in a month. So it's really, really small, but getting the right crew makeup, getting the right steady, that's hopefully what we can do and piece it together. So I'll put that in a spreadsheet and send it to you, John, for your request.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be helpful too, especially for the committee members as they are listening to a lot of the stuff. And if you are able to include that in future slides, too, I think that would help visually for them to visually understand some of the numbers that you're sharing.
One thing I was really impressed, Aldrich did a presentation at Summit Academy. They have a training on electrical training, and there's so many young people. And it's an incredibly diverse class, group that will be going into the electrical industry. So that gave me a lot of hope for that industry.
I don't want to get too far. Hopefully, IBEW is connected somehow to that effort. That's good to hear. That's good news to hear.
And I do want to add that DLI has approved a pre-apprentice training for electrical students or training workers. So they're able to work with electrical companies on a pre-apprentice level and then transition into the apprenticeship role. And it's been approved for several of the companies.
That's awesome, and it actually transitions into one of my announcements I have. But I'm gonna hold off for a second and see if there's any questions for Mike. And does anyone else have any announcements?
Are you going to become an electrician?
You know what, Elaine, actually, way back in the day, I'm not gonna say how way back, I was an electrician's helper for a summer, and actually worked on the police station on Plymouth Avenue in North Minneapolis as an electrician's helper. It was a really good experience for me. I got a good paycheck I could take back to college. Yeah, but that's enough about me.
See?
We have, and I was hoping, because I like to do this, put Sean on the spot a little bit.
Wake up, Sean.
Yes, wake up, Sean. Became aware of a national initiative. It's called Equity in Infrastructure. And it's really put together, and I'm speaking, I don't have all the information, that's why I'm hoping Sean can help out here. But it's really in response to a lot of the funds that's going to be coming through the legislation that the Biden administration has signed, and it's really dedicated to our infrastructure, workforce, small business, helping to build generational wealth, and some of those objectives. And a lot of public agencies, as well as private agencies, construction companies have signed on to this effort and have signed on to the pledge. MnDOT is listed there on the website. Didn't see a lot of local contractors. Some national ones with a local presence like AECOM, HNTB, I saw there. So this is my call to action for our contractors here and local to get involved. I think Met Council will probably be looking at this as an opportunity for us to get involved. So I'm trying to find out more, and we'll have some time with the Deputy Commissioner over there at MnDOT. But Sean, could you please kind of talk about it a little bit more articulate than I was able to?
I'm not sure. So can you repeat? I was sleeping. Can you? No, I'm just kidding. Can you guys see me? I think I have my camera covered. There you go. Is that better?
Oh, yes.
Hey.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. There are a lot of I will speak broadly first. There are a lot of equity initiatives coming out from the USDOT right now. So there's also the Equity Action Plan, and they've just requested comments on that. So we are compiling a response to that as well. We actually issued a statement about this back in March that we share the goals of the EIP and advancing opportunities for historically underutilized businesses. And we talked about our programs and such. I can read the statement if you guys want to, but I'm not sure if you all want to hear the fine print. But we did sign that pledge. There are 13 DOTs as of March 1st that signed on to it. So I'm not sure if any others have been added. Equity is a core value of MnDOT as well. So, I think a lot of this is we are waiting for, to some extent, more guidance from the feds as well. I mean, other than, we have an equity lens, we have our small business contracting programs and our equity initiatives that we have in place, and we're continuing to build on those. But as far as like these specific USDOT initiatives, I think a lot of this is still has to be built out as a result of IIJA and or some of the requests for comments that they've received. The other thing I'll mention alongside these things is Justice 40. There are some proposals for how Justice 40 has been calculated, or for how to calculate projects that are eligible for Justice 40. So Justice 40, for those of you that might not have been informed already, is the principle that 40% of the benefits of projects that are constructed in racially concentrated areas of poverty, 40% of the benefits of the project should go to the disadvantaged communities in proximity of that project. There have been a couple of different proposals for how to determine whether a project is in a racially concentrated area of poverty, and I think one of them that the USDOT most recently came out with considered the national definition of, it used a national framework for poverty, which excluded all but a couple of really small sections of Minnesota, and basically lights up the South. So we opposed that calculation and instead proposed one that was based on more regionally based disparities. So anyway, I wanted to let you guys know about that because that's one of the things we spent some time on too a few weeks back. So I don't know if I really provided more context for your question, Ashanti, or if that's the question that if I answered the question you were asking or provided any more context, but I'm happy to try and do better if people have additional questions or even more questions based on what I just said. I'm awake now, so you guys can go ahead.
Appreciate the information, Sean. I'm taking notes, and I'm anticipating probably that we'll connect, and also probably add, as I said before, your deputy commissioner into the conversation as well.
That sounds good.
But yes, looking forward to following your leadership in this space. Honestly.
Thank you. Sounds good. And if I ever did fall asleep in a meeting, it wouldn't be one that you're in, Ashanti. I know better. So, yeah.
Appreciate that.
So, all right,
Sean,
thanks.
are you-
Yeah.
I have a question. Are you gonna present this or discuss this at the next collaborative meeting? The MnDOT DBE?
I'm happy to talk about it if folks would like me to do so. I will have to petition to get on the agenda with Bridget. I can probably do that, but yeah, if want me to, if folks want me to talk about that, I'm happy to dive into that too. And just, I think that might be good. Maybe like a more comprehensive update of what initiatives the USDOT has going on right now.
I agree.
So I'll mention that to our facilitator.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Floor is open.
Cricket.
All right. John, do we have any? All right. No one from the public asked to come and talk to us or available. So,
Also,
with
can I
that,
say something, Ashanti?
you sure
Actually,
can.
can I talk about MnDOT just a little bit more?
Yes.
Okay. We did just file our DBE uniform report for the first half of the year. So it does include the award of 494 project, and the current DBE participation is 14.6%. So that's a record for us for the first 6 months of a fiscal year. Last year we were at 14.1%, and we ultimately, I think, missed our goal by 0.5. With the 494 project, the numbers are a lot larger, so I'm optimistic yet again that we will meet our 12.6% DBE program goal. And I don't think we've done that yet as a department, so it's potentially a pretty big deal as well. So
I think it's awesome, Sean, and it's so great. This is Krista. So it's great hearing from the DBEs that are on our project, transitioning over to the 494 project. It's been so great being a part of the CS McCross Lunda group, hearing about it. So great job, Sean. Very nice.
great,
And
likewise. Thanks.
And I'm gonna say, Sean, that I'm jealous that you guys waited till I left to start meeting the DBE goal. Try and rub that in my face.
It's because of your work on
sorry.
this one.
I echo that. Since I used to write
Yeah,
the gold reports, the gold.
yeah.
All right.
This is
No,
awesome.
It's been a
thanks-
long
thanks
time
for-
coming, for sure.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I'll duly
All right.
acknowledged.
Well, again, thank you for those that joined us both in person and on the web. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting is held on July 20th, 2023. And I believe that one will be virtual, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
Enjoy
you.
breathing
Everyone.
in Canadian wildfire stuff.
Yeah. Baseball's not canceled tonight.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. I already sent the deal, the MnDOT deal, over to Joel Larson and Dale and said, where are we at with this?